Hail, hail! Brother Wilfried is here. We are in day one of the Wilfried Nancy era. Fist bump to everyone on arrival who's catching us live and loud. And if you're watching this after we've been live, thanks for tuning in. If you're looking for a breakdown of the game that kind of happened last night or a bit more of an instant reaction, me and McBride Ace were live on the channel last night. And I know a lot of the topic of conversation in the live chat and in the comment section is going to be the January transfer window, which is right around the corner, the state of the squad, etc., etc. We already had some content for that out on the channel, looking at the MLS specifically and how Wilfried Nancy could tap into that market, a la Ange Postecoglou. And if you're after that in a bit more depth, again, there's a video on the channel you can check out. Today is all about trying to get our head around what to expect, as I try and fix my bonnet here, what to expect from the new manager, how far away from, us being able to contort into the system we all expect him to play is the team at the moment, who could be the main runners and riders, and what a kingmaker set of fixtures that he has to come into. Everyone's been making a lot of it, playing Hearts, Roma, and then St Mirren in the Cup. And I was just thinking about making some sort of tie there because it kind of dawned on me yesterday. Roma and Hearts both kind of wear the same colours and are both from capital cities. So I thought there was maybe some sort of link I could have made there, but I wasn't quick enough on the live. Sorry. The beauty of recording things, I could have sat on that for 5 minutes and came up with something. But anyway, thanks to everyone for joining us. And yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting one. I don't know how the rest of the week is going to pan out. I'm really crossing my fingers that CeltsAreHere get an invite to the press conference. We were there for Martin O'Neill. We were there for Brendan Rodgers. Love to think that we get invited for Wilfried Nancy. Because for one reason, really, obviously the content, hopefully, you guys are happy enough with it. You guys like everything that comes out here. You smash the like button, you show your support by hitting subscribe, and maybe we get invited along to these things. But the day after, the night before, when Brendan Rodgers resigned, straight away, I already had the short list drafted out. We already, in straight the morning after, we went through my top kind of like 8 or 10 candidates for the job. Wilfried Nancy featuring as the number one wild card shout. And I think he made top 4, top 5 for me in the overall scheme of everything. So when you hear people saying no Celtic fans knew about this guy or anything like that, you know they don't listen to this channel. And because of that, you know that they're behind the 8 ball. They are behind the curve. Wilfried Nancy's already subscribed to the channel. And all you heroes and legends that are here as well, of course, you guys have already done the same. You've got your finger on the pulse. You know what's going on. And here today, I want to try and imagine a little bit of day one. Wilfried Nancy, we've seen that little video from him on Celtic social media last night when you can tell he was in transit coming in to Glasgow. And you would imagine Lennoxtown, 7 a.m. or so this morning, maybe 8, I don't know, but probably 7, to get training, introduce the players, maybe get a bit of a session on the go and prepare towards Hearts. Now, there's a few things I want to wrestle with as we go through this today, but one of them is, how long will it take him to kind of make an impact on the team and kind of reshape the team? Now, even though the guy's never been in Scottish football before and all the rest of it, I think you would be mad to think that really since his last game played against Cincinnati and the links emerged and contact was made from his agent to the club or whatever, he's watched every Celtic game ever since then and probably did a bit of a backlog on the season leading up to this point. So there's no way he doesn't already come in with some insight. There's no way he doesn't already come in with an idea on this is how this player could work for me. And, like Martin O'Neill said, you can see people from afar and get a rough opinion on them, but it's totally different when you're on the training ground with them. So I think, there'll be a wee bit of that discovery that happens today and tomorrow leading into the game at the weekend. But number one, I don't think he's coming in blind. I don't think he's going to be coming in going, what's your name? I don't think that's going to be happening. I think he'll be quite aware of everyone that he meets today in terms of the playing staff, and he'll probably already have his schedule mapped out. He's just been flying across the world for like 10 hours, never mind the protracted negotiations, the delay in paperwork. He'll already have everything mapped out. Day one, first thing to do is this, work out who I can use, who's fit and available, try and do this sort of system to see where they are in terms of understanding some principles or whatever. And then you kind of roll and you go on from there. One thing I did try my best to highlight with McBride last night, and we were kind of all over the place, so apologies for that, is compared to the MLS schedule, although our schedule is grueling, right? We don't have anywhere near the same travel commitments that he's used to. So in terms of time between matches, he's going to have like way more than what he's used to, even in this kind of congested period, I believe. And the thing with MLS, one thing I've got on one screen here, which is kind of semi-distracting me, so I'll just put it on here so I can kind of just get into this, right? But one thing about MLS is that any MLS manager, any MLS club, a big part of any success that they have or they don't have. This is Wilfried Nancy's last home game in charge of Columbus Crew. They beat the rival Cincinnati 4-0 in this one. And I chose this game for a few reasons. We're going to chat about it as we get to it. But MLS, you have to be very good at using like your roster, be able to use your squad because of how intensive the travel is, as well as the fixture, the league in general, etc. To be able to manage minutes, protect your key players, bring through other players at appropriate times and appropriate moments in the season, so on and so forth. So I don't think him having not necessarily square pegs for round holes, but less than ideal personnel is going to be too much of a handicap to him either. And again, like I tried to highlight with McBride, if you look at this Columbus Crew team here, I'm not even sure who all the DPs are at this on the screen. I know Diego Rossi is, I know Gazdag is, I'm not sure, he's on the bench. And I'm not too sure who their third DP is. They've maybe got a spot open for another one. But genuinely, like, our whole team is DPs, essentially, as far as he's concerned, the level, the quality, the caliber of player that we have at our disposal. So in terms of what he's walking into and the sort of training he'll be able to do and the sort of and again, I want all Celtic fans that check out this channel to be quite clear. Nancy's not one of these guys that is like thinks he's smarter than everyone or thinks he's got some sort of secret recipe or he's rediscovered football or anything like that. He's a very, although like quite exact, tactical shape and whatever, it doesn't make it rocket science. He tries to keep it very, very simple to the extent where, like, if we look at this Columbus Crew team, we look at the configuration of the back three. Malte Amundsen was a league winner with NYC, another MLS team, at left back the year that they signed him in here. And he's a big guy. He's not really too dissimilar in terms of frame and stature and everything to maybe like a Scales or something like that. He's actually quite a big strapping lad for a left back. But at left centre back, the boy Zwardzic, but it's also Shiberko and what's the boy, Rudy Camacho. There's lots of ball passing centre backs in the middle here. And then with this, so basically like the back three is kind of like a back one in terms of centre back at times. And these other guys get a lot of license to move on. And the point I'm trying to make with this is he'd never played this type of system before, Amundsen. And again, if you watch the way that some of these defenders could overload an attack, it's not it's like Greg Taylor playing that inverted fullback thing for Ange. And you can tell that Greg Taylor didn't need like to go to university to learn how to do that. There was some simple principles that the manager gave the team and some rules to follow, and it just clicked and it worked. And I think whether it be the back three especially, which I'm kind of talking about now, or other areas of the pitch, I don't think there's going to be too much hassle getting a lot of our team into this shape. And it maybe actually fixes some of the gaps that we have. Now, one thing, I'll catch up with the chat. 2 seconds. The handball rule, by the way, honestly, like, I seen that for the Fernandez boy yesterday, and I really do my best to stay away from refereeing stuff, but I've been kind of dragged into it in the last week or two by myself. But last night, I still can't get over that. I totally forgot about it on the post-match breakdown last night, but even the Negren offside thing is wild. Like, it's wild. It's not offside. And the linesmen are meant to hold their flag down, particularly for the, if I can no, let's not segue, but see the whole linesman keeping his flag down. It is precisely for that type of Negren opportunity that happened in the game, where it is razor fine, it's on, and it's going to lead to like a shot on target or a goal mouth scramble. See, when the linesman keeps his flag down for an offside, it's some of these stupid nonsensy ones that are down in the corner flag when it's a 3v3. That's and it's offside. That's just idiocy. Idiocy? I don't think that's the word. It's idiotic. It's moronic. It's meant to be you keep your flag down for those types of Negren situations. You let the play go out. If it's a goal, VAR will catch it or not. If not, on-field decision, that kind of thing. So for the Negren thing, on top of the Maeda thing, McCracken, jumping Jimmy's. Never mind the Rangers handball, which is I know what you're talking about. Good to see you, Riley boy, with a live view. Love to hear it. All hail, brother Wilfried. Just caught up with your VODs. Put it off, now you're live. Oh, nice. Mark Duffy, thanks very much for catching up and good to see you live and loud with us. Good morning to you all. Not sure how 3-5-2 will work in today's modern game. Now, Officer Feelgood, I'm glad you mentioned that, Rex. It's a nice segue because I'm not too convinced we are that far away. In actual fact, can I maybe just clean this up a second? I am actually borderline convinced that we have been playing semi-Nancy. I don't know if that's something we want. Semi-Wilfried, right? I think we've been playing semi-Wilfried so far since the emergence of McKibben in as the right winger here into midfield. Because, again, one thing that we've been crying out for on the channel that we've kind of got in this Sean Maloney, Martin O'Neill interim era is that box midfield scenario. Now, the box midfield scenario isn't really too different to the type of situation that Columbus Crew want here. And Chambeau and Nagbe, you can just imagine Nagbe is McGregor, Chambeau is Engels for all intents and purposes, and then the boy Picard, for all intents and purposes, could be McKibben or Negren. And this boy over here, for all intents and purposes, really could be Yang. And if you look at the players, especially that have played on this left-hand side for Nancy, Diego Rossi played a bit of over here when they had another centre forward, but I'm thinking about guys like Azil Jackson, Jason Russell-Rowe. You know, they're not too dissimilar to Yang, actually, in a lot of ways. And then, again, the way Diego Rossi's been utilised in the absence of Cucho, it took him a while to really become the arrowhead striker that he's eventually became. But that's not really too far away from maybe what we've been doing. Now, maybe Tierney hasn't been quite as adventurous. And even if you think about the game last night, by the way, Yang was putting in a bit of a shift back in this zone, knocking the ball out for throw-ins and covering Tierney as much as possible. So have we maybe been playing a little bit of half Wilfried so far already? Is that kind of what's been happening? Now, McKibben's given his width. Don't get it twisted, of course, but you know, like the middle of the pitch has been very much a feature of this interim regime. And as the negotiations have been going on, like I mentioned earlier, like it's very hard to imagine that, number one, Nancy hasn't been doing his homework and studying up on the team or whatever. And if he has had any sort of, like, it's basically done, you can chat to the players or whatever, you can maybe get an insight track from the coaches. He's maybe dropping some ideas in or some suggestions. Can you try this? Or what do you think about this guy in this type of role? And there might be some sort of collaboration at a distance, perhaps, coming into this. Yeah, box midfield is something we've really championed on this channel for a fair length of time. So I got the jacket from the Celtic Superstore, like, whenever I started making Celtic content. So you'll be able to find it on YouTube, but it's like 3 or 4 years old. I'm a big fan of it. It's kind of hard to think of where out because it's so brazenly Celtic. I like it. It's very good for videos. But it's official Celtic. Like, it was like one of these wee, you know, they try and do some, like, it's not like, what does it say? It just says merchandise, I think. But it's not like the team wear or anything like that. It was like Celtic Collect. I had an zipper that was like green, grey, and black that I really liked, but the zip broke on it. But yeah, up until the not another penny thing, I would buy all my stuff from them. But we can Am I? What pod am I on? Paddy Lavery, Axom. And I think that's maybe a bit it, isn't it? In this place, obviously. And we've got some special guests we're maybe going to have lined up for next week in the aftermath of Nancy Game 1. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, Pulisic never really came through in MLS. He kind of came through in Germany a bit more. But yeah, American players are definitely coming through now. There's no two ways about it. And if you listen to the Lewis Morgan interview on the Fozcast, he really talks about it. And Lewis Morgan, his kind of gauge on it, he's in a really good spot, isn't he? You know, grew up in Scotland, played in a decent St Mirren team before coming to Celtic. And then over the last 5 years, he's been there 5 years. In MLS, he's kind of seen a lot of stuff. So I recommend you check that out if you've not done so already. Yeah, I think so too. And I think the main thing with Engels, right, in terms of why he's been playing better, the position hasn't really changed too much, right? But I just think Engels seeing more of the game is just way better for him. I think we can all agree he's got a fantastic range of passing and he can see great balls to play. But to see them, you need to be facing the game. You need to be coming onto the pitch. Whereas for the most time under Rodgers, we spoke about this with McKibben coming into the midfield area or into this position recently, how he's been really effective at basically playing those Matt O'Reilly balls in these kind of inside channels here, and even from in and around the edge of the box. We've not quite seen McKibben pick the lock the way O'Reilly used to, but that left foot on the right-hand side was a big feature of Brendan Rodgers taking over from Ange and not changing too much. And Arnie Engels coming over here with the right foot, you just never got the same, you don't get the same passing range or ability from him here on the right foot. And he's facing the game in a different way. He's got a totally different perspective on where everything is and where the space is. and he's a bit more like you can see here. It's left and right. You've got to be kind of, really checking everything and aiming this way. It's not where the goal is. The goal's this way. So I think that's a big beneficiary for Engels. Is it's just he can just see more of the game, and I don't want to say that in like a child, like talking down to him or anything like that. But when he's in this type of situation, he can see clearly where the danger is a bit better to go and like attack that rather than being here and having to recover into it. Number one. And number two, when he is on the ball, obviously like picking up and striding into this area here, zipping it into McKeown, getting the ball back. He already knows, like he can, everything's just a bit more in front of him. So I think that's a big part of it, rather than necessarily the position or the tactics. I think he's just a bit more at home coming into the game, facing the game. And I think that kind of paints itself into why we maybe all find a bit of suitability for him in right mid. Because again, if he's facing the game, if he's coming onto it, his range of passing, his delivery, his execution is very good and can only get better, you would imagine, McKeown has been quite ineffectual the last two matches, sadly. I thought against Feyenoord, like he did well, he contributed and everything, but it was really the game before he was a real live wire. I might be remembering that wrong. I'm really sorry. Maybe he did play better against Feyenoord. I'm just kind of all over the place with matches and stuff. After a week, honestly, I really do struggle to remember some games, who did what and all the rest of it. I need to refer back to notes and whatever. But I do think McKeown, again, he needs to be effectual. You need to be creating goals. You need to, making assists, creating goals, scoring goals from this type of opportunity. We've really seen Hatate in this second forward position really come to life. And I kind of pose the question again, is this terribly dissimilar to the way Wilfried Nancy is going to want to play Celtic? I don't really think so, by the way. I do think I would be surprised. I would be surprised if Yang was opted into this position here. I don't think Tierney's got the legs for it. I think Sriracha could do it, but it doesn't seem like he's physically able. That hamstring injury is probably going to keep him out for the festive period. So I think, maybe is this the opportunity you get Tanecki back into the side? You could still use Yang in this type of role, I suppose. Again, very similar to the Columbus Crew type of workout, where you've got that kind of bigger, stronger, pacier front man to drag a defence across the pitch. Part of the reason I want to use this Cincinnati game as a representative as well. Cincinnati this is a playoff game for a start, and this is like a derby match for Columbus Crew. And if you look at the way they've shaped up, Kevin Denke, in your mind, can be Lawrence Shankland. And between the likes of Evander and Brenner's a bit more kind of target manny, but in terms of what he gives the team, etc., you can look at this as being the likes of your Kizaridises and your Bragas and whoever else that they might have to call upon. And the rest of the team, in terms of the shape, maybe not the quality, the personnel, the particular style of Derek McInnes Hearts, but the Cincinnati team isn't really that far removed in terms of how they were planning on playing away from home in this game, and equally how Cincinnati would be successful in turning them over. Now, this is, the question we had with Hearts last time when we went to Tynecastle was, would Derek McInnes go toe-to-toe with us, or would he go back to his playbook? He went toe-to-toe with us that day, and the way they've been dropping points, I thought the Kilmarnock game was the first real pressure match for them. That's a game they had to win, they were expected to win, and they dropped the points right at the end. So coming off the back of that, they are definitely under the cosh coming into this game. Do they go toe-to-toe with us again, or do they go back to the Derek McInnes playbook? I think they'll go back to the playbook personally. And after we hear from Wilfried Nancy, we can do a proper preview on the game at the weekend on the channel, probably tomorrow, maybe Saturday. So stay tuned for that. But again, I don't think our team is really that far removed from what this Columbus Crew team is. And again, as much as I'm saying you can bet your bottom dollar that Nancy has probably been doing some homework, it wouldn't have just been on our team. I'm sure it'd be quite easy to watch. A bunch of you guys have managed to watch Hearts games as well. I see you in the comment sections and the live chats, and even people I speak to directly. So, again, Wilfried Nancy, he's not doing anything else. You can imagine he's been watching every SPFL game that's semi-relevant. I think we could see so this is really interesting, right? Because Martin O'Neill particularly referenced Paulo Bernardo, who's got minutes in the last two games. And I think the thing is, see, when you're starting McKeown, Engels, and McGregor and Hatate, Bernardo is just the only other midfielder. We literally kind of have too many of these guys, but if we can actually play more of them from the start, it then just brings Bernardo up the pecking order a little bit more. So I think that's maybe a sign of things to come, that Bernardo will just feature a lot more from the bench and will have the opportunity to fight for a place in this front quadrant. But the other player that Martin O'Neill mentioned was Michel-Ange Balikwisha. Now, in this Nancy system, just because at Columbus, particularly, The left-hand side, he has liked guys like Yang and Tuneke. He's liked the left side to be a bit more explosive. And between the centre forward being Arrowhead kind of player, the target man, the finisher, the fox in the box, the engine that leads the line. The other player was generally your Diego Rossi type, who's now kind of fashioned into a front man over here. That could be a Balikwisha, that could be an Atati, that could be a support player a little bit more. So maybe somebody like Balikwisha could even come in directly from McKibben. There could be some sort of other imagination here between the front line, even with the likes of Tuneke coming into it. And this might even be the part. Oh, so I've got that field of view thing highlighted. This could be the domino effect. If he builds a team from the front and makes his decision backwards, that could be important as well. Because if he's thinking, oh, no, I need Yang in this spot here, maybe that's how Tuneke comes in. Maybe Tuneke comes into this position here. And again, we're talking about Balikwisha, Yang, and again, if you're looking at the three of them, it's hard to imagine Hatate doesn't keep the same. And again, how big of a tweak is this to the team we've been playing recently? Not really too much. We're maybe just going a bit more gung-ho down the left, aren't we? Which we've been kind of doing anyway. And again, with this relationism type football, so there's a lot of people I follow on social media that there's relationism and there's the opposite of it, which is positionalism. Okay. And you can get very hoity-toity and football snobbery. You can go right into the weeds with this stuff. But all of these principles and philosophies, and really if you boil it down, like even to your Guardiolas and your Klopps philosophies, every football philosophy and tactics, the genesis of establishing one in the first place is giving you just clear guidelines for we're in this situation, what should we try to do, kind of thing. And I think if it's quite simply, we've got so much strength on the left, let's just hammer it. Let's just lean into it a bit more in that relationism type of sense. Because if the ball's down on this side of the pitch here, the way it works is, for all intents and purposes, like Yang and Tuneke are the left wingers, Rio and Dyson become the strikers, and so on and so forth. It's about in relation to the ball. The ball's in this area of the pitch. We want 5 attackers. If we're going to have 5 attackers, we need 2 guys that are going to be in the box. We need a guy that's close by. We need a guy for the switch potentially. We need a back post shout. However you want to think and categorize of all these players. And then, is the ball in this position? Yes. Cool. Who can be that guy? Could it be Engels? Oh, it's not. Engels is actually over here because he just took a free kick or something. Oh, do you know what? It's Tierney. Tierney's became that guy because he's had the space. He's been free. He's just tracked the ball up the pitch, whatever. And in relation to the ball, they know the positions that they take up. It's very similar. And if you think of the individual impact that Taylor had and that kind of inverted fullback thing as it became known, very similar kind of base concept as that. But in relation to the ball, Ange was like, at left back, you're useless back here. We don't need you. So just go up here. That's kind of the nut of it, wasn't it? It was just, you're actually just a waste of a person here. Just go on to the line of the defense and get busy, link up with your teammates and go and cause it. And under Brendan and under more conservative managers, it basically ends up becoming like they walk into midfield and they box up with the centre backs for cover. And again, that was a strong part of the Taylor element. And again, that's a bit of relationism, isn't it? Is we just want to protect the middle of the ground and we want to let Engels off the leash. We want to let these other players off the leash. So you, as a kind of wasted man back here, be useful here. It's that that's a kind of dead easy way of just keeping it kind of top level. So I seen Iheanacho's in the provisional squad now. Iheanacho didn't even make the bench last night. He's been on the bench 2 games in a row, had no minutes, didn't make the bench last night. So I don't think Iheanacho is going to go away to AFCON. And I think Celtic have enacted some sort of FIFA rule where we will have all of them until the cup final. Balikwisha, I think, has made the Congo squad. I don't think they've got deep depth. So he kind of just goes in there by default. And again, by all accounts, Tuneke is a ever active member of the Tunisia squad. So he's probably the one that's actually going to go away and do stuff. And again, if you're Nancy and you kind of know, right, well, Tuneke can't really be a guy I build immediately around because I'm going to lose him in 3 games. So again, yeah, maybe that's how Youngster has been kind of fashioned into Tierney's bodyguard a little bit and Tierney's legs down this side of the pitch here as a bit of a compensator as well as a guy that kind of moves into the shape. Feels like I've lost somebody here. Oh yeah, McKibben. Yeah. I don't think you can put Tierney out there. Does he? Imagine he played Scales out here. Imagine he played Scales out here and like Maybe Simpson Pussy and Trusty or something like that. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be wild? Jota will be huge when he comes into this. I think so. And again, everything you need to know. So I did a video on YouTube that's got like just under 20,000 views. Everything you need to know about Wilfried Nancy. It's fully time stamped. If you jump to the back half of that, I kind of go through a lot of pre-prepared slides of the shape and different options, like we're kind of doing it now, but it's a bit more prepared and planned. Now we've kind of got the context of who's fit and available, and even just the opponents we've got to play this weekend. I don't think there's any doubt about Dyson Maeda. Johnny Kenny didn't even get off the bench with Martin O'Neill, so I think the emergence of Kenny is maybe not quite as Neil Lennon prophecy fulfilling. You know, he's got a growing reputation in European football as maybe it could have been previously imagined. And yeah, I do think Inamura is still in the frame. I think Inamura is still in the picture. If I can just hit, can I get the depth chart back on? Just the full depth of the squad. Oh, no, it's let me go backwards to go forwards here. 2 seconds. I deleted all the saves that we had under Martin O'Neill and stuff because so this is the general depth of the squad at the moment. Alistair Johnson, obviously not anytime soon. Carter Vickers, not anytime soon. Ross Doohan, I seen in the stand with the injured brigade. I don't know if he's actually injured or just third choice keeper. Jota, I don't think it's that far away. Osmond, I don't know. I don't know how far away he is or not. We'll just leave him here. Shin has been kind of MIA, hasn't he? Even still. But yeah, I think Inamura's in the picture, especially when you consider that there's no Vickers, Simpson Pussy. And again, it's a back three type system, isn't it? So I can imagine there's just, a bit more possibility that Inamura's maybe makes a squad once in a while. And again, similar, I don't think Ralston in his current shape, I don't know if he's carrying an injury. He can't do this right wing back position thing. I think it's only Donovan that can do that. I think he's probably relatively nailed to play at the weekend. Yeah, I think the Bundesliga is a good place for Dyson. They paid decent money for him and I'd probably integrate well. Yeah, it should be a red all the same. Big adjustments coming up. See, I don't think, maybe the drip feed has already been happening. Maybe that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Where, like I said before, I don't really think the shape that we've been playing is really that different to on the ball how this looks. You know, Max Arfson here, even the guy, the big guy plays left wing back against a big unit, very attacking player. Don't want to say he's like Yang because I've kind of said that a bit already, but a big unit of a guy. The same at Amundsen. There's just these guys are big units that power down the line, big athletes, and imagine you've seen Scales marauding down the left wing back. Yeah, they played the same shape at Montreal. It was maybe a wee bit more 3-5-2 at Montreal because the mid, there was definitely the 3-4-3 thing still happened, but sometimes they would play 4 at the back as well. You know, at Montreal they were a bit more versatile because they just had limited means and so they actually played a few different shapes at Montreal on occasion. It wasn't like a regular thing of he was a tinker man or anything, but Maeda to Bayern. Nah, I don't think so with Nicholas Jackson there. Wouldn't rule it out. Bring back a Gat. Could probably still run the channel quite well, couldn't he? I think I think on paper, if you're Nancy looking at this from a distance, again, it's kind of hard to keep Tati out the team, the form he's been in, but you look at the output Negren's had at Celtic and previously, and you look at what Balakosh has done previously, and you've got to imagine in this kind of support striker position. If I can just move these guys away again for a second. That they could offer something, you know, they could be a worthwhile member of the team because it does feel like we've said before on the channel, it's been a few different chefs spoiling the broth here. And, maybe the players look like they actually fit this system a little bit more than the Brendan system, than the old Ange kind of Frankenstein system that we were running with until recently. So many question marks, but it's quite exciting all of a sudden. I don't think it's too dire straits. Maybe a little bit with fullbacks because I say this left-hand side, I'm not really too sure what the answer is going to be for that. Imagine he watched Scales for Ireland and thought, that's my that's my guy. Yeah, I'm buzzing too. And I think at the weekend we've got a real sucker punch element to us where, again, I wouldn't be too surprised that see come the weekend, the team looks kind of the exact same on paper, but you maybe just notice the accent a little bit more of the Nancy way where maybe Donovan's a little bit higher. Yang, you really feel that up and down element a bit more. And then whoever's in support of Dyson, again, you just feel that kind of tighter knit because Hearts will be playing with a back three, and you should feel a bit of a difference up here, I would think. If Nancy does implement, this type of thing quite quickly. Yeah, Negren just needs to be in the final third. If Negren's in the final third, we're doing all right, And yeah, like I mentioned, we've all seen it already, but the fixture list Celtic have is proper kingmaker, potentially fixtures for them because it is all on the line, and we'll be covering it all here on the channel in more detail as we rumble through. But we're playing Hearts Sunday 3 o'clock, and then Thursday at 8 o'clock at Paradise. 2 games at home on the bounce is kind of nice, I guess, isn't it? But 2 capital clubs wearing kind of maroony red kind of vibes, to go back top of the league. And like for where we're at right now, 7 points is perfect. If we lose against Roma, it actually doesn't change our Europa League situation at all. If we get anything from Roma, it is a huge win on our Europa League, our par, our expectations where we could finish in the group. 10 points is the minimum. We're on 7 now. Our last game is at home to Utrecht. We have Roma, we have Bologna. I think, yeah, that's it. That'll be us. After that, obviously, it's Hampden for the cup final against St Mirren. And, I just wanted to say on this point, right? See if Stephen Robinson, who is taking St Mirren to this final, has previously taken Motherwell to a final, I think I'm right in saying. And for all the plaudits we've given him, if his name was Scott Brown, he'd have got this job, I think. I think that's probably the main thing that kept him from being a candidate in this is maybe just that little bit of experience of knowing what it means at Celtic or being at a bigger club, which is kind of hard being an SPFL manager. Like, how do you ever gain that if you're not a former player? So I feel kind of bad for him in that sense. But I was thinking that the day before yesterday, I thought I'd mention it at some point. So there you go. Away to, is this Dundee United? It must be Aberdeen, Livy. And this is going all the way through the festive period after winning a cup. So, like, if he could get anything against Roma, win a cup, and put us top of the league in 3 fixtures, Nancy could be the king of the town, king of the city. It could go the other way, obviously, and it could go somewhere in the middle. Like, again, I don't care. No, I don't care about the Roma game, but if we were to lose that 2-1, 1-0, 4-0, doesn't change anything for the Europa League. It really doesn't. Again, he won't be. This isn't a new situation to him. He's played Champions League in North America, and for American teams, he got to the final of it as well. And for North American teams playing the Mexicans, it's not too dissimilar a gulf in everything. Celtic versus Roma, for example. So again, it's not too far removed from some of his experience. He'll have everyone's favourite Celtic away day to look forward to the day after Boxing Day with Livy. And he's got a derby coming into it. So there is no rest for the wicked. When do you get the team going? I think it's straight away. He's got a plan. He's maybe got a bit of a step, in from the shallow end, walk it into the deep end approach, perhaps. That could happen. But I don't think it's going to be that complicated for him to just tweak a little bit and give the players some different rules and just listen. In this situation, we have 5 at the back. In this situation, we have 1 at the back, potentially, depending on how the play shapes out and where the ball goes and how we're dominating the opponent. It might not be quite as crazy as that against Hearts or something, but maybe at home to Ross County and Dundee and that type of thing, it could be. And yeah, exactly. At home under the floodlights, we're back in that kind of winning form. We can beat anyone. We can take anyone on. We can score goals. And Roma are decent. Roma have got the Atalanta manager, Gasperini. They're going very, very strongly, but they're not infallible. They're not untouchable in that regard. So huge kingmaker potential for them, or huge, maybe egg on the face potential. But I really don't see it. I think this kind of extended interim period of Martin O'Neill gave him like he's been able to watch the team for like how long have we been chatting about this? Like 3 weeks, something like that. So I think it will just be a matter of now you need the sessions, you need the reps, you need the time on the pitch together. I don't think there could be any more. Yeah, Roma are going very well right now. Yeah, I hope so too. And again, one thing I've tried to highlight on the content is don't expect this to be all MLS because where MLS is positioned and all the kind of targets that they will have been scouting for the last couple of years at Columbus, MLS wants to position itself as the conduit for South American talent to go into Europe. So there is huge resources and scouting in South America. And MLS isn't really known for that. They struggle with it. They get a lot of South American players, but not a lot of them go there. So by extension of that fact, they don't get their top talents from South America. Those South American talents, but wouldn't he mind playing some Europa League? Wouldn't he mind playing for a team in Europe? And again, you'll maybe find that he's just got the ability to actually chase down higher caliber targets than ever before, as well as play and use and train with higher caliber players than ever before. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so either. But I don't think he's going to. I don't think we're going to see just what's been happening. I don't think we're going to see like I don't think we'll see what we've seen under Maloney and O'Neill. I think we will see quite a clear um, tweak, and I don't think it'll be much more than a tweak that's needed. Like I'm trying to demonstrate on screen here, and you will see a difference. I think there's no way he doesn't come in and do it his own way. I just don't see that. After Jan 3, we'll be about 10 points ahead. Yeah, let's hope so. This is the board from JLA Tactics Board. You can use media and stuff for it. It's very good. A cold, wet, and windy night in Dundee. Yeah. Well, yeah, if they speak to Burnaby. Went to a Red Bulls game recently. Quality of play is horrible, like a basketball game, very up and down. Yeah, it is like just go out and play. Again, like Red Bulls, but like Red Bull football is the same everywhere. Like if that was New York Red Bulls or Red Bull Salzburg, Red Bull Leipzig, obviously the quality and there's lots of things that are different, right? But Red Bull also kind of lend themselves to that type of play. So it depends on the match you've seen. Might not be an accurate barometer on exactly what we're chatting on there, but it will be good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying like they are probably the worst team for European kind of delivery. Like you probably need to look a bit closer to some of the peak LA teams. I even like Orlando City as being like a good team to watch. Tactically, they're not fun all the time, but yeah. Argentina's Baltic, yeah, exactly. Backroom staff has been confirmed he's got him +3, I think, or him +4. So again, I don't think. And again, this is an advantage he has that other Celtic managers haven't been afforded or haven't had with them. Like when Ange came in, he brought in Harry Kuehl and stuff like that, but there was never any chat of Ange's team from Yokohama. I think he had quite a lot of Japanese lads and whatever there. And obviously, when he went to Tottenham, he wanted to take Kennedy with him, etc. When Rodgers came back, there wasn't mad chat of Rodgers needs his team in, but he got guys after a month or two, didn't he? And when Ronny Deila came in, I thought that was, for me, one thing I had huge admiration for Ronny Deila with, because Ronny Deila won the league and the cup in Norway with Strømsgodset. Who? Exactly. And when he came to Celtic by himself, I thought, this is crazy. Like, how does this guy not get to bring a number 2 with him or something? Like, surely, like, if he's been the manager of the team that's done all that stuff, fine, but he's definitely, like, had a way of working and had people work with him. Surely we could have just took some of them over. Ronny Deila hasn't really had a career of consistent coaching staff, actually, as it turns out. So maybe a wee bit of he was quite happy to work that way also. But Wilfried Nancy is the first guy that comes in here with a department. He's got like he'll be coming in. There'll be a carload of guys showing up today, and they'll have a meeting. They'll delegate. They'll go out, and they'll kind of many hands makes light work for it. Yeah, he's got a video guy, he's got a fitness guy, and he's got his number 2. Yeah. And I always felt Collins was lining up, taking over from him. I've met Collins at one of these AXOM events, and you don't get that sense from him at all that he ever had designs on it or whatever. But I kind of thought he did, like he was Hibs manager. He was like a big Celtic player in the 90s. And I thought if it doesn't work out with Ronnie, Collins definitely fancies himself. But it was never, but after Ronnie, Collins was nowhere near the reckoning for it. But yeah, I thought it was a wee bit like, yeah, I thought him and Collins were all right. But I just found that all out. I had a lot of admiration for Ronnie for that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think Ronnie was meant to be the number 2. Yeah, I get that. But he wasn't the assistant at Stromsgoset, but he was meant to be the assistant for us. I know the lore. I've heard the chat. I know the urban myths. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to Nancy. I can't wait to see. Hopefully, as I say, the channel gets invited to the press conference. It can maybe try and pick his brains on, have you had a wee early inclination on the team? Any players you're looking forward to working with? That kind of cack. Not sure. We've not heard anything on any outgoings or who's remaining. Now, Sean Maloney, I was at the press conference for Sean Maloney, Martin O'Neill, and Sean Maloney was very clear that he's going back to pathway manager, and I think that will happen. But I think he might still have that, kind of training ground. I don't want to say access, but Martin O'Neill was very clear to go into the crowd and pull the coaches out of the player crowd to do the lap of honour, number one. And number two, very clear to say he would personally love if the coaches were still involved because of the work they've done. So I expect Sean Maloney actually to go all the way back to being pathway manager, but he might still have a hand on some sort of coach and analysis type basis, maybe an integration type session here or there. Fotheringham, I think, is an interesting one. I think Fotheringham would be the perfect person to replace John Kennedy as like the club's head coach. And I know that might sound like a really weird phrase, but we've had Kennedy for like 12, 15 years as a coach. And it was kind of like the club needs to protect itself. As much as it's great Nancy's bringing his own team in, when Rodgers left for Leicester, I'm pretty sure he took like I'm sure he took like a bunch of people with him. Again, feel free to fact check me on that. And I think the club were scarred, were bitten by that, and they don't want that coming back again, which is why they've been quite tentative with it in recent years. And I think Nancy getting his team might have been a negotiating stumbling block. But I do think the club have maybe loosened up in that regard, give him his team, but they still will probably try and protect the club, which is, I think, something we can all agree with. You keep Celtic integrity, fabric kind of in the building, on the training ground in Lennoxtown, as it were. And if these guys were ever to leave for any number of reasons, you've got a guy that is going nowhere and is of the level to at least get training going for a few days, and that sort of thing. So yeah, and I think Fotheringham's universally loved. He has been a manager. He has applied for manager jobs. So I think maybe part of the question is, does he maybe just add it to his CV and move on, professionally speaking? And McManus probably goes back to the B team. You would think. You never know. Nice. Yeah. And it's nice as well that we're getting a bit of French into the building. We've had a lot of French players down the years, and we've maybe not had them ever since it kind of, went sideways with a few of them. But, I can dig Celtic going French a wee bit. I can get behind it. I can dig it. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what comes out from Celtic today. Yeah, Bernardo's kind of back in the picture. Has Martin O'Neill's name dropping of Balikwisha, does that foreshadow something? And between Taneki and Yang, are they kind of the only options out here on the left-hand side? Does Inamura come back into the picture? Simpson, Pussy, Murray, all these guys are now kind of back in frame, aren't they? If we need a back three all of a sudden, like maybe he plays Tierney out here. Maybe I'm overthinking it, and that opens up a spot back here. It's not impossible. I could also see the future of Ralston being this right centre-back. I could see that happening all day, every day. Like I said to McBride last night, I wouldn't be surprised if he went with something crazy. Like I said Trusty for the pace, but I think Scales is there on merit. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did some sort of wacky back three like that when everyone's fit and available. Again, I think you probably pick Trusty for pace here to cover, but would not surprise me. Yeah, we've got some interest. Palma is a funny one, right? I'm always happy for players to get better and prove you wrong, right? For whatever that's worth. But it is the Polish division. Like You would need to really be watching him and really know he's done differently. The highlights are fine. The goal contributions are cool. That might just be his level. I'm not saying he'd be like best 11 or he's like he's got to start or anything. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if that's his future. Because this could be Donovan and AJ all day when he's fit and available, which is also going to be ages away. But I could see Ralston being a bit more effective in this type of situation. I think it's his lack of pace is why he would be more centre backy, but because he's not going to often like break forward or whatever. And it's just about if the ball is breaking down this side, being the right back, showing them wide, not letting the ball come into the box. And then these two guys, again, in relation to the ball, become centre backs. So it's been the defensive right back is what he's kind of going to be asked to do. And if we're really dominating somebody, Ralston's got good delivery and good range of passing, can switch, can play channels, is strong as well, doesn't mind taking a foul for the team. I'm just saying, guys, don't be surprised when it happens. And when you hear other channels say, nobody's seen this coming. Nobody knew Wilfried Nancy, or nobody thought this, nobody thought that. There's a big chance they don't catch the content here. It's predictions and forecasts. That's what we're all about. Hunches, speaking our mind. And yeah, like we get things right because we make calls. We don't sit on the fence here. It's kind of the bottom line, I think, with that. But the squad all of a sudden looks a lot more usable. Iheanacho, if he doesn't go to AFCON, again, a bit of understated depth and quality maybe that quickly comes back into the picture that we've not had. Does Dyson then maybe become one of these support positions, which again, you then look at how many people could be fighting for these positions. We put Jota when he's back fit and available in here. Forrest when he's fit and available, you know, like Yang and Taneki are probably in the like that's how much competition there is for these spots potentially. That is insane. That is insane. I'm looking forward to breaking down the game and previewing the game in more detail with you guys as we get more from Nancy. We maybe get some training footage. We maybe get invited to some stuff as well. Let's cross our fingers for that. If you have enjoyed the stream this morning, please do smash the like button. Hit subscribe for more content like this if you've not done so already. And yeah, get into the live chat. We've had a poll running. It's been unanimous. I've not mentioned it. Does Nancy hit the ground running? 94% of you have said aye with a fist bump. So I'd love to see that. And yeah, we'll be back live tomorrow, or there'll be a video out tomorrow. There'll be something, so stay tuned for that. I've been working on a really big piece of like intro, a really big content piece for when Nancy gets announced. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, have a great day, everyone. Thanks a lot. Hail, hail, Mon the Hoops.